This is a case file. This one is not about a decision you made. It is about the version of that decision your mind has been defending ever since. Sometimes louder, the worse it turned out. Every forensic examination begins with a body and a question. This one begins with a question you have probably asked yourself quietly after defending a choice you privately knew was wrong. Why did I argue for it even harder? You have called it loyalty. You have called it just seeing the bigger picture. You have called it not wanting to be the kind of person who gives up. None of those words are lies exactly. They are just the explanation available to someone who has never been shown the mechanism doing the actual work underneath them. The same mechanism that has you arguing for a job that is clearly draining you. Defending a purchase the moment someone asks why it cost that much. Explaining again why this time was different to a friend whose face has already stopped pretending to believe you. 6 findings, 1 final report, and a psychologist who found his entire theory by accident while watching a doomsday cult survive the one night that should have destroyed it. Leon Festinger was a social psychologist who, in 1954, infiltrated a small group led by a suburban housewife the case file will call Marion Keech, who believed she was receiving messages from aliens warning that a flood would destroy the world on December 21st of that year. Festinger was not interested in the flood. He was interested in what would happen to the believers the morning after it failed to arrive. He had trained under Kurt Lewin, one of the founders of modern social psychology, and had spent years before this night studying how people decide what is true by comparing themselves to the people around them.
The cult gave him supposed rarer, a group whose shared belief was about to be tested in public on a fixed date with no room left to move the goalposts. Begin. Before we examine what happened to you, we have to establish what Festinger actually found, because the popular version of denial leaves out the part that matters most. December 21st arrived. Midnight came and went. No flood, no aliens, no flying saucer waiting to evacuate the faithful. In the hours before midnight, members had stripped every piece of metal from their bodies. Zippers, buckles, anything that might interfere with the spacecraft said to be coming for them. They sat together, certain, and waited. By 4 in the morning, with no flood and no spacecraft, their leader announced a new message had arrived. The group's faith that night had generated so much light that it had single-handedly spared the entire planet from destruction.
Before that night, the group had been private, even press-shy, refusing interviews and making no effort to convert anyone. By every reasonable account, the failed prophecy should have ended that. Instead, within days, the same secretive group was calling reporters, eager to spread the word for the first time. This is the first finding. When a belief you are deeply invested in collides with a fact that contradicts it, the mind does not default to changing the belief. It defaults to changing whatever is cheapest to change. And after a decision is already made, the decision itself is the one thing that is no longer negotiable. Festinger gave this discomfort a name: cognitive dissonance. The tension of holding two things that cannot both be true at the same time. I am a careful, intelligent person, and I just watched my own prediction fail in front of witnesses. That tension demands resolution.
And changing the belief is almost always less costly than facing what changing it would require you to admit about every choice that came before it. Festinger opened his account of that night with a sentence that has outlived almost everything else he wrote. "A man with a conviction is a hard man to change," he wrote. "Tell him you disagree, and he turns away. Show him facts or figures, and he questions your sources. Appeal to logic, and he fails to see your point." Notice what that sentence does not say. It does not say the man is stupid or weak or incapable of reasoning. It says the facts arrived at the wrong end of the problem. By the time you are defending the decision out loud, the decision is not what is actually being protected. What is being protected is your ability to keep believing you are someone who does not make decisions like that. This is the second finding. The more public, costly, or irreversible a commitment was, the harder the mind will work to retroactively justify it. Not because the commitment was good, but because the alternative is admitting you handed something real to something that was never going to honor it. The wedding everyone privately worried about defended twice as hard once the worrying turned out to be right. The business announced to family before it ever turned a profit, kept alive past the point any outside observer would call it over. Because closing it would not just end a company, it would force a public reckoning with every confident thing you said about it beforehand. The size of the announcement and the size of the denial tend to travel together. That is not a coincidence. It is the same system, scaled to the size of what it now has to protect.
5 years later, Festinger ran a much smaller, quieter experiment that explains the part of this mechanism most people never see coming. Students were given an extremely boring task, turning pegs on a board over and over for nearly an hour. Afterward, some were paid $20 to tell the next student waiting outside that the task had actually been fascinating. Others were paid only $1 to tell the exact same lie. Common sense predicts the $20 group would feel better about the task. They were compensated more. The data said the opposite. The $1 group rated the boring task as significantly more enjoyable than the $20 group did. $20 was enough external justification to explain the lie to themselves. I said it was fun because I was well paid. $1 was not enough. With no external reason large enough to explain why they had said something untrue, the only way to resolve the discomfort was to start believing the task actually had been fun. This is the third finding. The smaller and less justified an investment was from the outside, the more the mind manufactures belief from the inside to make up the difference. This is why the version of you who stayed in something for almost no visible reason will often defend it more fiercely than the version who stayed for money, status, or any reason an outsider could simply point to and accept. If a friend has ever asked you gently why you are still defending someone who treated you badly, and you found yourself reaching for reasons that even you could hear were thin, this is very likely why. There was no large external justification available, so your own mind built one the only way it had left. The same pattern shows up anywhere a person commits for free what they would resist committing for pay. The unpaid favor defended longer than the paid job ever was. The volunteer hours that somehow matter more and get rationalized harder when they go badly than work that was at least compensated for the trouble. There is a fourth mechanism Festinger's framework predicts directly, and it explains a habit you may not have realized had a name. Once a decision is made, the mind does not go looking for information that might prove the decision wrong. It does the opposite. It starts filtering quietly for information that confirms the decision was right, and starts skipping past, almost without noticing, anything that would reopen the question. This is called selective exposure. The unread message you let sit for 3 days because some part of you already suspected what it said. The review, the comment, the friend's raised eyebrow you talked yourself out of asking about. None of that was an accident of attention. It was your own dissonance reduction system working exactly as designed, protecting a decision that had already been made from the only thing that could still meaningfully threaten it. Exhibit 1. The search history that only ever runs in one direction. Every query phrased to confirm, never once phrased to actually test the thing you decided. Exhibit 2. The group chat you quietly muted right around the time people started asking questions you did not want to answer, telling yourself it was just notifications. Exhibit 3. The one friend who always tells you the truth, who you have started seeing slightly less than you used to for reasons you have not examined closely enough to put into words. This is the 4th finding. The information you somehow never quite got around to looking at was not a gap in your curiosity. It was the system doing its job, and its job was never to find the truth. Its job was to keep the discomfort manageable. Here is the finding that explains the detail most people find hardest to accept about their own past. Dissonance theory predicts something deeply counterintuitive. The worse a decision turns out, the harder the mind will often work to defend it, not the other way around. A small mistake creates a small amount of discomfort easily absorbed. A catastrophic one creates a catastrophic amount, and the system scales its defense to match. The worse the outcome, the more total justification the mind needs to manufacture, and the louder that justification will sound from the outside. This is why the people defending their worst decisions are so often the loudest in the room. It was never confidence. It was discomfort working at maximum output. Listen for the vocabulary this system defaults to under pressure. You wouldn't understand unless you were there. It's complicated. You're only seeing part of it. Each phrase sounds like context the listener is missing. Functionally, each one is the system buying time because no outside explanation has yet been found large enough to make the discomfort stop. This is the 5th finding. If you have ever wondered why you fought hardest for the choice that hurt you most, this is the actual mechanism, not a character flaw, a predictable, well-documented response running exactly to specification. This is the final finding. It would be satisfying to end this case file by telling you the fix is better facts delivered more clearly with more patience than anyone has tried before. Festinger's own data says the opposite.
Facts rarely dissolve dissonance because facts are not what dissonance is actually defending against. They can even backfire, the way they did the morning after the flood, making belief grow louder, not quieter. This is why the relative who shows up with a folder of evidence rarely changes a mind already committed to a decision, and frequently entrenches it further. The folder is not new information to the system under threat. It is simply more pressure on a structure that already knows exactly how to respond to pressure, by reinforcing itself. What dissonance theory does offer is the one lever facts cannot reach, the situation itself. Dissonance is generated by the gap between a belief and an action. Close that gap by changing the action, even slightly, even privately, even before you are ready to say so out loud, and the discomfort starts resolving on its own, because the system no longer has two contradictory things to hold open at once.
You do not have to win the argument with yourself first. You only have to make one small choice that no longer matches the old justification, and let the belief catch up to it, the way it was always going to. It rarely looks dramatic. It looks like sending the message you have been rehearsing for weeks instead of the one that keeps the peace. It looks like reading the one notification you have been letting sit on purpose before you can talk yourself out of it again. It looks like answering a friend's question honestly once instead of reaching for the version that keeps the story intact. Each one of those is small enough to survive contact with the system that has been defending the old story. None of them require you to win an argument with yourself first. They only require the action to move before the belief does, and the belief reliably eventually follows. You will not feel finished the moment you do it.
Dissonance does not resolve on a schedule that convenient. What changes first is smaller. The next justification takes a little more effort to find than the last one did. That is the system losing, slowly, the war it has been fighting in your favor for longer than you noticed. You were never given bad judgment. You were given a mind that protects its own decisions by default, the same mechanism in everyone, running on you exactly as documented in a moment that gave it more to protect than usual. This case file gets reopened every week with a new mechanism, a new mind, a new piece of evidence most people walk past without a name for it. If that is useful to you, staying subscribed is the only thing that puts the next one in front of you before you have to go looking for it yourself. That is the Autopsy report. Case closed.